help you to understand what structure is and how we can write about it in analysis. So, but before we start on our today's lesson, we are going to very quickly review our previous lesson. That was yesterday. Yesterday, we looked at how to integrate a quote when writing a PEE paragraph. And what was our takeaway? Do not drop the quote in between the point and the explanation. Don't just pick text from, don't just pick a quote from a text and put it between the point and your explanation. What you need to do is to blend it in your explanation. We all know a blender at home, the one we use to make juice. So if you take a watermelon and an apple and an orange and you blend them together, they mix. So in short, you're saying your quote, the evidence of your point must be blended in with your explanation, and then at last you write the effect that is created through that explanation. So very quickly, I gave you an exercise which I marked, and we are getting a hang of it, but I would like us to listen to one of the students who wrote a very captivating paragraph. It's actually 3 paragraphs on question 3, and that is Ledan. So I'm going to invite Amjad to come and read for us.
John Ronson, in his passage of The Men Who Stare at Goats, offers a relatively light and humorous approach detailing a young soldier's chaotic but light-hearted action or use of repetition that conveys a sense of amusement. The writer focuses on a certain part detailing his actions. What am I mostly made of, he thinks. Atoms is an intense, laughable question, followed by what is the wall mostly made of, he thinks. Atoms, a climax built up on the basis of humor for readers. In addition, the passage conveys a stark strike of contrast when he says he can stay in his office or he can go into the next office. The contrast the writer is providing builds a harsh tension that is left by a cliffhanger. He's going into the next office, combating the unknown by leaving it on the stilt, giving readers an edge of harsh tension in their minds. Lastly, John Ronson calls on a register of sudden humor to call off the passage. Bangs his nose hard on the wall of his office. A single grand long sentence that means to leave readers on a static ride. The writer details a sudden yet humorous approach meant to leave the passage with a note of entertainment, assuming the wave of seriousness lighthearted.
She blended in the quotes. She did not have a very long sentence in between to explain or to give evidence of the points that she made as she tried to attempt the question on how the author has used language and sentence structure to create a sense of tension. Well, that aside, today we are going to look at structure, like I had said before, and how we can use structure in analysis. So to begin with, we start by understanding the term structure. And before I get to structure in literature, when we come to construction, building and construction, we talk of structures. For instance, what we are in right now is a structure. It is a space created by connecting bricks, and it gives us a room. So this is a structure. We talk of the body structure. The body structure is I think it's the skeleton. So without the bones that structure our body, I think we would be just a pile of meat. I don't even want to imagine. So in literature, the same thing. Structure is the building blocks of a text, just like the blocks that have been used to build these walls. And these building blocks are a deliberate journey by a writer that takes a reader from just being an observant to feeling the emotions that the reader or the writer wants to convey. So what are these blocks? What are these stones that we use to create structure in English? We have the beginning, which we call the introduction. We have the middle, which we call the body, and the end, which we call the conclusion. We have paragraphs. The paragraphs, they communicate the content and how we look at the content and how it is ordered. We have handled texts that they have the title and then they have the subtopics. So that is a way of organizing the paragraphs. And then we have others in a continuous prose where you have a text, then some space, and then another text. So the paragraphs are separated by either indenting or by leaving some space between the two. Number 3, on how we look for structure in a text is using the basic types of writing. The descriptions. The descriptions give us the setting. Setting is place and time. And sometimes we use description of people to create the mood and the atmosphere. Then we have the narrative, gives us the action. A narrative is simply a story. And then the dialogue is speech when you decide to incorporate the speaker's exact words instead of telling. And then we have thoughts and feelings. And lastly, background information, facts, and explanation. So we are going to look at a text from our book. I'd ask you to open page 92. Page 92, we will look at the word perspective. We have handled it in class. It simply means point of view. The point of view of someone. In the text we are going to read, we are going to look at it from the perspective of a 3-year-old boy. So usually I see on social media they call perspective or point of view, they call it the POV. So the point of view, a story told from the point of view of a 3-year-old boy. And then we have sensory imagery, which we have already looked at when we were looking at how to analyze a text using language techniques. So if we may open page 92, we are going to follow the prompts of, you can tell he's sad from the choice of words. That is great. Abdirazak? Frightened. The boy is frightened. And we're going to look at instances where we see, he is afraid. What else? Ilwad? He is confused. He is confused. This is a boy who has just been dropped. Look at the introduction. I was set down from the carrier's cart, that is a means of transport, at the age of 3. This is a 3-year-old boy. And there, with a sense of bewilderment and terror, my life in the village began. Choice of words. What do we call choice of words? We call it diction. So the choice of words. With a sense of bewilderment and terror, the boy was dropped at the village. The June grass, that is the introduction. So let us see, how do we apply that? How do we use structure to analyze that short text? So definitely we will need a PEE paragraph. We'll need a PEE paragraph, but before that, we are from the introduction. From the from the introduction, we can tell that the boy narrated, the boy gave us a background information of his story, or the reason as to why he is afraid. So, here we have, he tells it through a narration. In a cutter, dropping him, he's 3 years old, and he has the whole village before him. Maybe a life he's not used to. So this introduction, through a narration, it establishes the inciting incidents. Now we'll be able to understand the boy's fear and terror as we proceed through the middle. So it quotes his age, his 3 years, and then he is left to begin a new life. So it establishes the inciting incidents that is being dropped off, and it creates immediate vulnerability. Next, we have the middle. We are going to create a PEE paragraph from this table. So we have the middle, which is the body. And in the middle, he gives us this vivid description. And in the vivid description, he describes the setting. He describes his setting. Let me go through it. The June grass amongst which I stood was taller than I was. The grass was not tall. It's only that the boy was short and young. And I wept. I had never been so close to grass before. It towered above me. I want you to imagine. This is a boy standing in the village, and there's grass that is taller than him. So it's like he's in a forest, only that he's in can we call it grassland? I'm not sure. He's just in a place where there's tall grass. But the grass is taller than him. It towers above him. So if it were you, you'd think of you in a forest where there are many trees towering over you. And he wept. The boy cried. I think that's why Amjad told us that the boy is sad. He cried. I had never been so close to grass before. It towered above me and all around me, each blade tattooed with the tiger skins of sunlight. So there's sun, and it has discolored the blades of grass. The blades are those, these ones. So the sun, because it's dotted, it is dotted because it's discolored because of the sun. So he says, each blade tattooed with tiger skins of sunlight. It was knife-edged, dark, and wicked green, thick as a forest, and alive with grasshoppers that chapped and chattered and leapt through the air like monkeys. Look at the choice of words. It is extremely descriptive. It evokes all the senses. I wept, that is sound. Chapped and chattered, sound. Knife-edged, touch. Towered above me, sight. Each blade tattooed with, so it uses all the sensory imagery there are. So how does this, what's the purpose of this? The child's terror. So this is an outline. This is an outline of the PEE paragraph that we are supposed to write. And very quickly, I am going to just give you a few notes. I'm going to request, the bell has gone, but I'm going to request for a few more minutes because we started late. I give you a sample of how to write this paragraph very, very quickly. That is our point. Laurie Lee uses a deliberate structural shift from physical action, the action, to sensory description to mirror the boy's terror. So after making that point, remember yesterday we talked about integrating our quote. So in the middle paragraph, we are going to integrate the quote or the quotes to support our point with the explanation. So I'm going to use a different pen so that you'll be able to see, to differentiate the explanation in blue and the quote in red. This is our explanation blended with the quotes. At the beginning, the writer narrates being, now we get this from the text, set down from, we use ellipses to show that there is some content that we've left out. Cut, this is where he was dropped, but quickly shifts focus to June grass. June grass is in the text. So this is our quote, which towered above him. So we have blended, we have picked words from the text and quoted them, other than picking the entire, dropping the quote between point and explanation, the entire sentence. I hope you understand. This is what